Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Men's Equal Rights, M.E.R, a forum that brings families back together after they've been separated by family court and those who participate in the whatever it is family court is doing these days to separate families. It is our job and our desire to have 50-50 custody now here at M.E.R. And we hope that you feel the same way. We feel fathers and mothers are equal. This show is a show that we do not bash anyone. We encourage people to bring families together so that both parents are great parents to their children and the children have an amazing life. This is what's truly in the best interest of the children. With that said, I'm excited to have our special guest back today. But before we do that, I want to introduce our panelist, the one and only. There he is, Mr. John Rockmore.
Good evening, Mr. Lionel. It does me good to lay eyes upon you, sir. How are you?
Thank you, sir. I'm good. How are the kids?
The kids are all good. Did our Easter thing and saw the grandbabies, and the relationship is, let's say, it's encouraging.
I know that's right. So you've seen all of them or some of them?
I've seen some of them. You know, I have 7 daughters and a son, so I saw 3 of them. 2 of them had birthdays this past week, and God bless them. And I just want them to know that I just want to lay eyes on you. No matter what the circumstances, my heart just wants to see you.
Absolutely. And today's topics are fathers being looked upon as not the better parent. I believe family court chooses mothers over fathers. And so the question becomes, does a father make an excellent parent in comparison to the mother? Or is it the court that chooses the mother over the father in most cases? With that being said, I'd like to bring on our very special guest for part 2 of his story. And by the way, there was a avid supporter that comes and watches every show of M.E.R each week. And she said, I don't feel like he got his just due. I don't feel like we heard his full story. And I really wish that you would bring him back. And I put it out there to the team, and the team agreed, yes, we should. So please, let's welcome to the forum, author Lewis Smith. Mr. Smith, welcome back to M.E.R. You get a chance to continue your story. This is part 2. So the first question is, do you also feel that family court leans towards mothers rather than fathers? Do they choose mothers over fathers, and why do you think that is?
Well, I want to say, first of all, to whoever the guest is, let me make sure everyone can hear me. How's my audio, everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my audio is good. Okay, I want to first of all thank whatever guests, whoever saw me giving my testimony and felt that it was a need for me to come back. I want to graciously, from the bottom of my heart, especially it being a female, I want to thank you for hearing my story, understanding my story, and realizing that there was more for me to say. And again, before I even start and go into the questions, I want to thank you, Evan, for creating this forum. I want to thank the entire team. You people are sincerely amazing. This entire week that I've had time to think about even coming back, it's just been such a magnificent precipice for my head just to be able to come back and share my story and try to do away with what we are dealing with, which is my book called The Father's Plight. Because yes, let me get into the question now. The courts The gentleman speaking last week hit the nail on the head, and it's something that I've soaked with since last week's show. The courts, the Caucasian, the slave masters, the government, they have no issue with tearing a family apart. They have no issue or no bias when it comes to saying the father needs to be out of the house. We need to put a restraining order on him. That's the mother of the children. She's the best parent. They don't look at the details. As I said last week, they don't look at the fact that someone like me was a day one dad. There's a video on YouTube right now with 27,000 views of my baby's mother getting frustrated when my little girl was only 3 days old. She was getting frustrated. Someone says there's a problem.
Is it your audio? I think that you're fine thus far. So go ahead. Don't lose your point.
Okay. There was a video, 27,000 views on it. And when myself and my baby's mother at the time made it, it wasn't to be anything against her. It's just she was in the background saying, I've been trying to feed you. I'm frustrated. And you just keep crying. And in the video, I literally get to my daughter's ear and I make certain noises and certain sounds because I had done research that when babies cry, when they're 2 or 3 days old, they miss being in the womb. So it's good to get in their ear and make ocean sounds because that calms them. 27,000 views showing at 3 days old, my daughter would not be quiet, and I was able to comfort her because I had done research on what to do. Now, even though her mother per se is the breastfeeding parent, I still had done it's like what we do in our business and our careers, in all careers. You put in the work. If you expect to be a good parent, you have to research. Someone before you has been a good parent. Someone knows the tactical means it takes in order to be a good parent. So therefore, as a parent who was parented well, I had a great, outstanding mother. So I know how to parent a child. But the courts, they don't see that. I say this to my black men. The only thing the courts see when you walk in there is they see a goon. They see a black man. They see what they see on television. They see a rap video. They see the image that's been portrayed to them. So when you walk into that courtroom with your intelligence and your education and your great parenting skills, that's something that they can't even fathom when it comes to looking at you. And again, I know, and I don't want to make this a racial thing, but I'm talking specifically for us. The reason why there's a lieutenant on the YouTube right now, a lieutenant in the Army, I'm ex-military, who was literally maced, pulled out of his car, because when they see him, they don't see a lieutenant. They don't see a man serving his time in the military, a man doing living an honorable life, a lieutenant in the United States military. All they saw was a black man. So I say to my brothers who are dealing with the court systems, understand when you walk into the courtroom, they don't see any of your attributes. They don't see the man that your mother raised. They don't see the man that your father raised. They don't see the Christian man you may be or the Muslim man you may be. All they see is a black man, cookie cutter. Okay, he's black, she's black. Let's go to work. All right, look, she filed a restraining order. We're going to give her the restraining order. We're going to give her custody of the kids. She's the female parent. She wrote all this stuff and said he's a monster. So, why would she write this? She's been with him for 5 years. That's her husband or fiance. You know what? We think it's best because we don't want her to feel uncomfortable. Let's just go ahead and give her custody of the kids. And that's generally how it works in the court system.
Let me say this, that M.E.R, in this particular forum, we don't bash anyone. So please let this be known that I don't take that as bashing what you're saying, but that is your opinion of family court, and that has been your experience. And many people have different experiences. I share your experience. I've had a horrible experience in family court. So I truly understand your passion, but we can't say that that experience applies to everyone. There are some people that come out of family court and they come out of family court on top. Their story is a different story. But unfortunately, there's a majority of fathers and some mothers who come out of family court completely separated and become eventually estranged to their children or estranged with their children after attending family court, whereas before they were excellent parents like yourself. Just tell us some of the things that you used to do when you were actually a day-to-day father with your children that the court did not hear.
It's so ironic that you asked me that question, because myself and my attorney were trying to get the courts to see the picture that we were painting. I've had people say to me that watch my social media that knew when the children were born from day one. And I'm talking about literally 6 months old. My daughter's on the red carpets with me, literally leaving her mother home like, hey, I'll take the baby with me. Just because I had to do a red carpet, I would have her on set with me. It's pictures of my daughter, not even a year old, at Flappers Comedy Club backstage with me. I literally was so attached to my child. And that's just that's the beginning time. As she grew older, we had a little, a slight brand. It was Daddy and Deucey. We were together all the time. And then when her sister came along, all that did was manifest into another one to share, Daddy Deucey and the baby. I always had I was a 24/7, 7-day-a-week dad. I'm a disabled vet. So she was going to work. I'm getting my pension. I take care of the kids every single day. Wake up, cooking oatmeal in the morning, watching all the cartoons during the day, playing. Literally, it's so ironic that a male, a grown Black man, can sit around on all day and literally play with toys and puzzles and color and ABCs and all of those different things from day one to where it got to the point where they were big enough to throw a ball back and forth. Outside, working on their mechanical skills, working on throwing balls. You know what I'm saying? Just everything that you could imagine about the development of my baby's lives from the moment they came out of the womb, as I'm watching them develop, teaching them how to literally walk, talk, instilling discipline, there was nothing that I wasn't doing as far as parenting, So when the courts took that from me.
At what stage did that change?
When we first went to court for custody, my daughter that's 9 now was 4 years old. Her sister was 2. So my littlest baby just had her 7th birthday. So now they're 9 and 7. But prior to that, I need to turn my mic down. Somebody said, but prior to that, trying to turn this mic down a little bit. Prior to that, my baby was, they were 4 and 2. And that's when things changed. The age is 4 and 2 for them.
And what happened? What caused them to change?
Well, what changed was their mother decided that, as my uncle likes to say, he's been through the same exact situation. He's older, dealt with my aunt, and it's kind of parallel. He says when they decide to launch you, when the woman decides that I can literally launch you. They watch the movies like the Geraldine. Literally, I can put you out of the house. I can attain so much more. I can get more money. I can get more benefits. I don't have to shit. And it's sickening, literally.
Let me interject right here. What do you mean by when they decide to launch you?
When they decide that it's better for them to be without you financially. Also, here's the thing, realistically, I talked about this, Evan. I don't think, and this is an entirely different show, but I don't think that monogamy is natural. So when the woman decides that she doesn't want to be monogamous anymore, or there's more money or there's more opportunity, and she's looking at you every day and you become less appealing to her, it comes to the point, okay, I got the kids, but I can get child support from him, and then I can move on and go live the rest of my life. And then, hey, I can find me another gentleman, another suitor that'll come along and take care of me and take care of my kids and I got more opportunities, so much more I can do just in my life without having to be tied to a man that has an opinion over anything I want to do with my life. And literally, it's so cold because it's like, okay, you can do that, but why did you have to take my kids? Okay, we don't have to be together. We don't have to be in a relationship. You want to live your life. You want to venture out and do other things. Hey, I get that. But here's the reason why a high percentage of women go after the children, because of they say it's the root of all evil, and I hate to admit it. They want custody of the kids because of money. The more time that they spend with the children, the more you're out of the children's lives when they say, hey, to the court system, oh, he only spends X amount of percentage with the kids and then he makes this much money, then they're able to give an excuse as to why they're asking for so much money. It's really it's sick, in my opinion, but it's realistically why they want to make sure they give you, like with my baby's mom, she want to make sure I got that one little weekend. I get my every other weekend, 6:30, I get them. Sunday, I drop them off. Boom. And then every other weekend, get them on Friday and drop them off. And it's so funny because on the Sundays when I drop them off, I mean, they've gone to the beach, we've played, we've done things together. My daughters are usually, I'm telling them, okay, pack up and get ready to go to mom. And they're sitting up, playing on their games and relaxing. And it's kind of like, they know, like, wow, like, it's not that I don't want to go home to my mom, but dang, I'm chilling with dad. Why come I can't just chill and just, relax? Let me just wait till the morning. But her brother's an attorney. She's literally played the game so hard. She makes sure that I get my 6 o'clock drop off. My 6:30 drop off on Friday. And if I don't have them kids there by 6 o'clock, she calling the police. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just really it's a rough situation, but it's what I have to deal with it. And what I'm through just prayer, perseverance, and doing what I got to do, I just make the most of what I got. And that's the advice I want to give to men out there. Make the most of the time you got.
Are you talking about make the most of the time that you get a weekend? So why did they just give you, were you their primary caretaker, or did y'all share in the responsibilities of taking care of the children equally?
Here's where it gets good. Okay, I just said to you, I'm a disabled veteran. That's one. Number two, I'm a stand-up comedian. So what that means is I'm a stand-up comedian and actor and a disabled veteran. I don't make a lot of money, but every month the government makes sure my compensation is taken care of for my military background. So I have all day and night, 24 hours, 7 days a week to be a parent. She has to work. She has to take time out of her life in order to work a job, in order to compensate for the income that I make by just breathing. You understand? So the courts are aware that I have ample amount of time to take care of the children. I have all the time in the world, and I've shown them. I've not missed one visitation since she did all this. And see, that's something that a lot of fathers can't say. There's not one time that I called and say, hey, you know what, this weekend I'm doing this, or this weekend I'm doing that. There's nothing that takes priority or precedence over me spending time with my kids. However, because she went in there and sung this song, and again, we're not bashing anyone, but realistically, oh, he's a monster, and I don't want to say the judge's name, but again, these are things that I'm putting in my book. Be mindful of these judges, because the judges, realistically, they don't care anything about us. They don't know you. They don't know me. They're not eating toast in the morning thinking about a kid who they've known since he grew up, and this kid comes in the courtroom and they have to, oh, you know what? I know you're a good kid. You made a few mistakes. You probably did some things or said some things you shouldn't have said. But you know what? Because of your background, and I know who you are, I know your mother, your father, I know your grandparents, I know who you are as a human being. So you know what? I'm going to let this slide. No, they take what she says at face value and listen to it, embrace it, and they make decisions about my children based on lies. And it's not just my children. Again, I've talked to a lot of men who suffered through this same exact, and I didn't realize it until I started sharing my story. So many men have suffered through this until when I started sharing my story and realized that it's kind of like, it's scary to say this. It's kind of the norm. Like, oh, you go to court. Oh yeah, they're gonna give her custody of the kids, bro. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. And you know, you get to the point you go, wow, that's really what happens. And so when it happened to me, it was like shock because again, I'm a dude that doesn't have any type of criminal background. The only thing I've been to court for is a ticket. I swear to God, I've only been to court for.
That is most people. You said that they've lied on you. What sort of lies have they told on you? Give us some examples.
Man,
To create the narrative that you are this monster. What could create the monster? What would they say?
I'm going to say this again. We can't say names, but this stuff will be shared in my book. So anyone that wants to know the details, please purchase my book because I'm sharing everything in my book. That's why I had to write this book as therapy. When she was asked, and I said this last week, in court, has Mr. Smith ever slapped you? No. Punched you? No. Kicked you? No. Choked you? No. The judge, my lawyer looked at the judge and looked at her and said, no further questions, Your Honor. So when she took me back to court, here it is. You look at these elaborate, like I said, this is the stuff I'm going to share in my book. I can't share on your show. But when you look at someone that you literally thought you would spend the rest of your life with, you thought was your friend, you thought was your comrade, you thought someone that loved you, had your back, gave birth to children for you. And then you literally read and you see things like physical, mental abuse. And you go, wait a minute, you're the one that hit me. That's number one. Number two, you're the yeller and the screamer, and these are all the things you did. But then you look and you read the stuff, and it almost, like literally, I wanted to throw up reading the things that this woman wrote under oath, mind you. That's why I'm writing this book, because I wanted to take me back to court, because I wanted to bring her back to her own statements. And I want her to please come up with a fabricated story to explain to these people where this physical and this mental and this emotional abuse came from, when in your own testimony, has Mr. Smith ever punched, kicked, slapped, or choked you? And your answer was, or kicked you. And your answer has been no to every one of those questions.
Why would they ask a question like that? What would cause them to ask, has Mr. Smith ever done any of these things?
Well, because she filed a domestic violence restraining order.
Okay.
So that's why these questions were asked.
So what that is, they call that an O.R. And just for the public to know that M.E.R, we are a forum that actually wants you to learn so that you are not green when you go into court, and that you are prepared, because this is a particular strategy that's being used in court against mostly men, but also women as well. They paint the narrative that you're an abuser. But in most cases, it's untrue. And then they put into they do a restraining order thing like rubber stamps. That restraining order is a tool. It's not used to protect the woman. They know the woman is not in danger. They use that to get the upper hand in custody, property, child care, anything that has to do with finances. They use the restraining order, the RO, to get control over the particular case. So in your case, what did you do to stop that? What did you do to try to, counteract that?
Well, the first thing I did was I hired an attorney at the time. Now that I'm very court savvy, I still need an attorney. However, I've gone to court and handled myself very well on about 3 occasions without an attorney. However, I recommend to my brothers out there to not only buy my book, but I do coaching for free. It's very expensive to get an attorney. So if you can't afford an attorney, I really recommend that you read in detail. Here's the thing. I look back in retrospect, Evan, and I used to regret going to college because, again, being a comedian, you're like, okay, why do I need this degree? the one thing that I've learned dealing with real life situations, as far as business, as far as dealing with the court system, is it hit me like a ton of bricks when that college education came to me. And I started researching, and I started putting my dates together, and I started keeping immaculate notes. And I have it, like right now in my closet, I have literally books upon books of different writings and court papers and documents, and have them filed properly. You know, college teaches you organization. So I had to literally, when I knew I was being lied on, because it's overwhelming at first. And again, like we talked about last week, it's the hardest thing. And like I'm trying to explain to my brothers, the hardest thing to be a practical actor, you know this person's lying on you. The hardest thing for a Black man to do is sit there and stomach that. The hardest thing for a Black man to do is sit there and know you're being lied on and just go and be able to sit with ice cold water running through your veins and not even react. I caught in the past, before I learned my lesson, when I'm getting lied on, I would sit there and just, man, you know, like I just couldn't believe.
Are you saying that you are supposed to be a non-reactional human being, like a robot? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, that's not only what I'm suggesting. That's what I'm telling especially us. I'm speaking to the gentleman of our hue. You better not react at all. Don't show any emotion whatsoever. I'm gonna put this out there. I've been watching, God rest his soul, Prince Philip passed away recently, but I've been watching things like The Crown. I've watched some documentaries on, the whales and the royals. And the thing about us Black men, most of us we're not taught how to be royal, how to be regal in our dealings with things. What I honestly can say this truly, and I thank God that he's allowed me to get to the point where I literally know how to conduct myself like the Queen of England. That's my girl, 94 years old, been running her country since she was 25 years old. Literally watch the way she reacts to everything. Go back and see how when Diana and her son were going through their rifts, how her demeanor never changed. To my Black men out there, you got to learn how to literally carry yourself with the poise of the Queen of England. And I promise you, you'll come out better in court. I promise you that.
So you're saying it's important for Black men to be emotionalist, like the Queen of England is what you've seen?
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna say this to all my brothers: study the Queen of England. If you want to get somewhere in life, Black men, we really need to change the way we operate in every way if we want to attain success, especially dealing with the governmental court system. Yes.
Okay, well, with that said, I'd like to bring in a Black man so that he can respond and answer some of the questions. I've asked some of the questions that I'm sure he has to ask concerning what you just stated about the Queen of England and actually studying her in order to win in court. That's a strategy, though. Lala Justice from Chidenity is always talking about you must have a strategy. Mr. Rockmore, do you agree with Mr. Smith's strategy?
Much of it, absolutely. Education is always the key. Educate yourself. If you know better, you can do better. But emotions is, and that might not necessarily be a race thing as far as Black or white or brown, but knowing how to present yourself and just present your facts and your argument, 100%, I'm on board with him. Now, at the beginning of when he was telling his story, and I am going to find a question in there at the end, you're 100% right when it comes down to let's say the default, because traditionally we start out behind. Because traditionally, the child, custody of the child and the arrangements, they're defaulted to the mother, regardless of whether she is even better suited for the role or not. Almost every single court consider the mom to just inherently be better equipped to nurture a child, though it's probably absolutely incorrect. Why would they be doing the research that they're doing on it now? Many courts consider the mother having custody to be in the best interest of the child. And again, even if she's relatively an unfit parent, dads have been and are considered inferior when it comes to primary custody because courts said that the fathers don't have, and get this, don't have parental instincts.
We don't have parental instincts. Where did that come from? Who said that?
The courts, that's every single research that I've done since Mr. Smith came last week, that's what the courts are saying. That this is why people are doing the research to say, no, you're wrong. And then people are come back and say, you know what? Here's what they found in the research. Dads much more laid back than moms. But what they say is moms are more responsible, right? Then they'll say, dad is the good cop. And of course, everybody likes the good cop. But then again, they'll come back and say, well, that's because mom is more responsible and does more of this and does that. Okay. Dads, they found, are better at playing. They're better at roughhousing and getting the kid to use their creativity. All right. And this is a big one. Dads don't have any corresponding competitive mom guilt. What is that? Mom guilt is child comes home and the child says, you know, Jenny down the street, her mom taught her how to recycle. Her mom taught her how to read books. Her mom taught her how to play poker. And mom feels guilty. And then she goes out and buys poker. Dad are like, yeah, okay, let's go play. So dad don't have that guilt where they're trying to one up someone, right? It's simple science, you know, but this is how men are treated in the court system. And you know this, we all know this. So if we put the whole thing together, Mr. Spiff, he's dead on. But, and I will go, because like you said, we don't bash and this and that, but at the end of the day, that's not necessarily a white thing or a black thing. That's a man thing, because they think that women are inherently, instinctively better. And I say not from a day one dad like you, Mr. Evan, and a day one dad like you, Mr. Smith, but they never consider it, which means that the time you open that door to walk into that courtroom, yes, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go back. Let's go, let's get it on. Strike two. What happened? You get the 2 strikes when you walk in the door. Those are the things that we have to change, because M.E.R, we're about equal rights. And as we sit here, we're at a tilt. We're already at a tilt. We start by climbing the hill. And those are the things that we have to change, being M.E.R as an organization, and stick to our cause.
Do you, and this is to you too, Mrs. Smith, do you both think fathers are better disciplinarians for children than mothers? And here's why I asked that question. Because Oprah was raised by her mother at first, and Oprah was in trouble all the time. She was having a lot of difficulties, and Oprah was actually a troubled child. Her mother sent her away to live with her father, and that is who helped her to become the Oprah of today, the very disciplined woman, the woman that went to college, her grades got better, everything as far as discipline in her life got better, and she became the Oprah she is today when her mother sent her to live with her father. Do you agree that fathers are better disciplinarians than mothers?
Mr. Smith, you're the guest.
All right, thank you. That question had my lips like I was hungry, ready to answer that question. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with fathers being blessed, better disciplinarians. Not just, let me say this, not just because I'm a dad myself, but because of experience. I have a cousin, she's Muslim. Her and her husband They had 3 kids together. The relationship didn't work out, and Islam, they're not really cool with that, but they still co-parent. My female, this is my first cousin. She's related to me by blood. She told me something that was really deep to me. She said, even though he and I aren't together anymore, she said the most strategic tool that she uses to keep her children in line is, oh, I'm going to tell your daddy. Don't make me tell your daddy. My daughter, my 9-year-old, when I remember when she was young, when she was like 4 years old, she was putting her shoes on the wrong feet. It's something kids do. And I specifically would talk to her about that. I would say, listen to me, young lady, you're smart. I said, you see the way this arch goes? I say, look at your feet. Why would you put your shoe on that foot when you know that's the wrong foot? So I want you to think about that every time you put your shoes on. And she even said in front of her mother, oh my goodness, one day she, again, she made the mistake and then she went, oh my goodness, I don't want daddy to find out I put my shoes on the wrong feet. The male parent it's nature. It's just like I love watching animals. I love watching nature, watching lions and watching the way gorillas act, when the male comes around. There's something about the male figure that has an intense effect, especially on the child. The mother is there. She's a nurturer. She's feeding you. She's caring for you. But when it comes time to straighten up, get your act together. That's what the father's for.
Mr. Rockmore, do you concur?
I absolutely concur. And this is the one thing that all races share. Because if you go back to father knows best, oh, Beaver, when your dad gets home, good times. Oh, JJ, wait till your daddy get home. See, and that's one thing we've shared throughout, that the father is the disciplinarian, and not necessarily because he's so stringent, but because they will draw the guidelines, not to cross, and now let's have some fun, right? Because they know that daddy draws the line in the sand and I'm not crossing it. If I cross it, there's repercussions. There's things are going to happen. And it's an understanding that doesn't have to be brought up every single time. And again, this goes across all races and all boundaries. It's always been, oh, wait till your father gets home. Wait till your father gets home.
Well, in that situation, I never had a father. My mother was the disciplinarian in the house. If I was to be honest, I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the roughest of areas. It was tough for my mother once I became a teenager, because I started coming into my manhood and I looked at my mother as a woman. And I was like, she's not supposed to be telling me what to do. How can I survive in the streets if I'm surviving on what my mother is telling me as opposed to what a man is telling me? And I'm not insulting women. I'm just being honest about me as a young man on the south side of Chicago. So I started looking for men to show me how to be a man. And there were many that was showing me the wrong way when it comes to being a man. Some of them showed me how you smoke weed. That's what you do. You drink. So I'm at the age of 12, I started smoking weed and I started drinking on the advice of men in the streets, because there was no man in the house. And then I started running with the rough gang in my area. I started running with all those guys because they were led by older guys who, in a sense, was our father figures, okay? Whether they be pimps, hustlers, drug dealers, killers, that was what was in my environment. And because I didn't have a father in the house, I was in the streets trying to find out what it takes to become a man. And so it does make a difference to the fathers being in the house. Do we make better disciplinarians? I believe I was for my children. My children were straight A students. They were in gifted classes. They attended gifted schools. I enrolled them in gifted schools. In fact, I even told the teachers when I took my son to kindergarten, he won't be here more than a week. And these people looked at me and laughed, sure. Yeah, sure. And within a week, they called me and they wanted to put my son in second grade. And I intervened and said, that's too much of a jump because the kids are older and he's just starting kindergarten. I don't want him to start out in second grade. Let's do first. And you just let him, do what he does. And even in first grade, he was pretty much helping all the kids with everything and doing everything for them. But his level of maturity was not that of where they wanted to put him. But his IQ certainly was. And that was as a result of me being his primary caretaker. He was raised by his father through his formative years, and so he's highly intelligent to this day. Are mothers capable of truly disciplining boys and turning us into men?
Sure.
I don't know. Even though I was raised by my mother, my mother did not help. She did not make me become a man. My mother helped to keep me safe while I had to find a way to become a man. I don't know about your situation, Mr. Rockmore. Did you have a mom and dad in the house who helped you to become the man that you are? Because no woman can teach a man to be a man. She's a woman.
My mom had 8 brothers. My dad had 9 brothers. So I had a whole bunch of daddies. And I used to get a behind whipping in July for something that I did in January because that's when my uncles came to see us at the cookout. So there was a whole lot of men around me to make sure that I was a gentleman. And that came from my grandmother was very influential, and we weren't even allowed to speak slang at home. She'd say, you know what, men, boys don't have to be boys. Boys can be gentlemen. And so we had to be on it all the time, especially when it came to language and how you speak and how your character in the neighborhood and so forth. And the worst, and I'll say it, the worst whooping I ever got was messing up in church and embarrassing her in the neighborhood because she expected us to be gentlemen, 100%. But she had a bunch of sons. My grandmother raised 30 children. Blacks, whites, Asians. I have Puerto Rican uncles. So just a hodgepodge of people. But to be a man, there was a bunch of them around. I had a bunch around.
And that shows me why you're so well disciplined today, because you had such great influences in your life. Mr. Smith, I'm going to have to ask that you stay with the show, sir. You're in and out. I'm going to have to ask for the duration of the show that you stay with the show. And I want you to complete your story. And by the way, that was a lady by the name of Miss Harris. They call her the Great Queen. And she was the one that was just felt as if you just didn't get a chance to tell your full story. And that's why we're here for part 2, to hear your full story. What is it that you would like to say to men out there who are struggling with the same situation?
I want to say to the men that are going through what I'm going through, brothers, you're going to have to practice some meditation. You're going to have to practice some temperance. Study the likes of Dr. Martin Luther King. Study the likes of Gandhi. I'm so serious. When I say this to my Black men, we often like to compare Martin with Malcolm. Malcolm has a very motivated sense of getting things done. However, what's going to really transcend you, listen to the words I'm saying to my men out there that are really paying attention. what is going to really transcend you is your discipline, brothers. Straight up. Study the minister Louis Farrakhan. Even though I love Malcolm for his zeal and his rhetoric, Tupac, I love his zeal and his rhetoric. However, Black men, we are going to have to literally, and it's a way to do it. When I say learn to be like the Queen of England, however, maintain who you are, maintain yourself at all times. You know exactly who you are every single day that you wake up. You know exactly who you are. There's no one that can change who you are. However, there comes a time in life in order for survival. Pay attention to the words I'm using, men. Survival. You have to look at it as survival when I say your reaction has to be able to be nil. And honestly, I really do hate to say this, but dealing with this situation that I've had to deal with the court system has literally transformed me, even in my personal life, on how I deal with things. I realize what's important and what's not important. How much effort and time am I going to put into whatever it is? At the end of the day, this is something we all have to realize. I watched Dead Poet Society recently. I was in a Toastmasters meeting and we discussed seize the day. You have to seize the day. Simply because in 100 years, we're all going to be worm food. So you have to live for today. And you have to manifest your best today. And I know that myself, even while I wrote this book, I'm trying to be the best possible father I can be, because in 500 years, I want some young man and or some young woman to say, you know what? I read Father's Plight by Lewis Smith, and it helped me and it guided me, because it just like, and I'm gonna bring up somebody we just lost recently. And Evan, I've never told this, but it's in my book. I was in foster care for a little minute too. DMX was sent to foster care as a young child. His mother put him in foster care. I myself know what that's like. So when I talk about a father's plight, my book is not just badgering the mama or badgering the court system. It's literally saying to American society, it's saying to other Black men, I've been through what you've been through. I've hurt how you hurt. I wake up how you wake up. The same target on your back is on my back. So this is how I've survived. Think about the words I'm using. I've used that word again, survived. And this is how I get through it. I want to teach my Black men how to not only survive, how to thrive. And in order for us to really attain and maintain the goals that we are out for, we're going to have to literally change the way we operate. You know, they, like I said, they see us, they look at TV, they see Black man did this, Black man did that, Black man this, Black man that. They see the images that are put in front of them constantly. So that's what they see. So what we have to learn to do is not only change our outer appearance, but for the public, we have to learn. I want us to learn. You know what? Here's my thing to Black men. Can we go 1 year without one Black man going to jail? Or can we go a year and at least minimize it? I know that's hard to just say no Black men going to jail for a year. But instead of like all these protests, why don't we as Black men go out of our way to help other Black men not to go to jail? What can we do to help a Black man not go to jail? And I'm not saying after you commit the crime. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when he's 18, 19 in high school. For us cats that's our age, can we reach to these cats and give them some guidance and some understanding, and also help them deal with their relationships? No one's here for these young Black boys to talk to when they're going through stuff and having issues. And man, I'm 22 years old. I got a baby mama. And Evan, I want to literally say to you, I'm literally shocked, because there's nothing but masculinity and positive masculinity in every way I've ever saw from you. And to know that you didn't have a father, it's mind-boggling. But you know what that shows me? That shows me that what you were born to do and you were meant to be, you were meant to be, regardless of if your father was there or not. You grew into be the man that you were and are destined to be, even without that. So see, even though I had my dad in the house, my dad was abusive. You see where I'm coming from? So there are things, again, this is stuff that's in my book. There are situations that I've had to deal with, that I've had to overcome, even with having a father in the house. And still, he's alive today, and I love him. I love him. I'm his namesake. I'm Louis III. I love him like no other. However, you can't change the reality of things that happen. There's hurt there. There's pain there. And I lost my mother in 97, and I'm going to say this about hurt, and I'm going to say this about pain, especially when you deal with the type of tragedies that I've had to deal with. People say you get over it. I'm going to tell you this. There's pains in your life that you never get over, but you learn to live with it.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for that. Thank you for that. I truly appreciate it. And let me say this, all of us are who we are. Our spirits are who we are, even as children. And it is up to our parents and those who are adults to guide us properly. But our core spirit and our core soul is who we are, whoever that is. I've always been, even as a boy, I was always striving to be responsible, striving to take care of others. I was the child in the neighborhood that was a protector of those who were running and afraid of bullies and all of that stuff. They run up next to me and they know that I wasn't afraid. And so they feel safe. People feel safe with me today because they know that I bring a certain strength that they might not possess. I'm seeing from Fanny Martinez, fathers. One more time, let's put that up for me, please. What Fanny Martinez said to the technical staff. I'd like to see that again, please. But as I was stating about my situation, I've always been that guy. So I appreciate you saying that. As far as, here we go. Father's influence is so important. My good male friends helped my son to be the perfect gentleman he is. And I do know who Fanny Martinez is. She's actually now living in Uganda. I don't know if she's seeing the show from Uganda. But if she is, please like and subscribe the Men's Equal Rights Forum. Please like and subscribe and share the M.E.R Forum with others because you could help somebody. Someone could learn and be prepared for when they have to attend family court. I know that your story is horrific. How long have you been going through this, Lewis Smith? How long have you been enduring this entire situation where you just can't feel comfortable with being a father and family court? You're still, we see a lot of hurt and pain, and there's a lot of passion there. How long have you been going through this?
Since December of 2016, I have not had proper time and visitation with my children.
What would you like?
I want to be able to take my children to Chicago to meet my family. Like you, I'm from Chicago. I think we related because we got so much in common in so many different ways. You know how the apple trees make apples. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I want to be able to take them to Mississippi. I want to spend more time with them. Something that I do have, even though, and you know what? Now, this I must say, and I'm going to be honest with you, Evan, and honest with people about. When COVID messed a lot up for me, because before COVID, remember I told you I went to court by myself. I raised such a fuss and I did so good by myself in court that I literally have rights to go to my kids' school and volunteer. Right before COVID, my daughter's birthday is March 10th. I think that's the exact day that they took the protocol down and the kids got out of school. I celebrated my daughter's birthday, March 10th of 2019 at her school with her. prior to COVID, I was at my kids' school volunteering. And that's something that men don't know they can do too. For the men that are like me, that collect a pension and don't have to go to work every day, and literally you want to father and parent your kids, let the courts know that you can volunteer. Again, I was volunteering at the school. I was helping to teach grade papers. I was coaching. And you know, Evan, I was right there in the theater class. You know what I'm saying? Helping the kids with the theater class. And then when COVID hit, that's when the narcissistic, manipulative baby mama terrorist was able to come in and literally go for more time. Well, I got the kids at home all day. He shouldn't be doing this and he shouldn't be doing that. Again, my uncle told me something today. I'm trying to help men not be the man that I've been myself. I'm not the man I used to be. So if I'm not the man I used to be, I'm trying to help you guys not be that man in the first place. Because I'm gonna tell you, Evan, I've been out to the courthouse and I seen brothers like, man, I can't believe she. And I go, whoa. I try to put him to the side. I say, hey, because I was him. I was him. I was, whoa, man, I can't believe.
So
that's
was
why
I.
Whoa, come here.
And I'm sure John Rockmore was too.
I have to tell him, brother, come in. And see, that's what I'm talking about. We got to catch these cats when they 19. You know, let's help this next generation. So that way, in 10 years and 15 years, when we're having stuff like M.E.R, we looking at something totally different. Because before I leave this planet, man, I want to wipe out fathers not being real fathers that want their kids. We got to stop that. We got to make sure that that does not happen. That's what my father's plight is. That's what my whole plight is about.
And let me say this, we are winding down. Time flies by on this show. But let me say this about family court. You speak a lot to Black men because in this particular society, Black men are heavily under attack. The entire society knows that. Racism runs rampant, especially when it comes to us. We're targets. But let me say this about family court, and I believe Mr. Rockmore touched on it. Family court affects everyone, not just Black men. I was in family court and this white guy came out of court and I'm waiting to go in and he said, I won, Evan, I won. And I said, you did? He said, yeah, I finally get to see my kids. It took me $350,000, but I won. And it was at that moment I realized this is a game for family court to build revenue.
Wow.
This is not in the best interest of the children. If you go to the mediation floor, you see a bunch of parents in line and mostly men saying, I just want to see my kids. They're all saying the same thing. I just want to see my kids. And then every now and then you see a woman that goes, I just want to see my kids. How could everyone be saying the same thing if it's in the best interest of the children? You got men and women that want to see their kids, and the courts have the authorities to regulate this and make sure you see your kids. How then does it take a man who loves his children $350,000 just to see his kids, who he was seeing before the courts got involved? Mr. Rockmore, quickly, do you care to respond?
You know, it is like you said, it is 100% a game, but we can win the game. And by some of the steps that Mr. Lewis is saying, it's being under control. Educate yourself. Know your rights. If you just say that I know my rights, and you have rights as a father, regardless of what research and science and all and what they think. It's not about what they think, it's what your rights are. Laws that are written down and the way you present them. Because if you don't present them in a fashion that's queen-like, you may lose your rights and they'll take them right from you.
Well, our time has come to a close. Before we go, with that said, Lewis Smith, please let them know how they can get in contact with you with any questions, any way that they can reach you through social media.
Go to Lewis Smith on Facebook. I act like a comedian on Instagram, Twitter, and yeah, I act like a comedian at gmail.com. And please hit me up. Any gentleman out there, any man out there that's going through it that needs some help, please don't hesitate to contact me, because I have a few, and I don't even call them clients, but they are kind of my clients. I have a few clients that I'm helping and coaching right now, and I have a passion for it. It's not about, for me, it's nowhere near about the money. I want y'all to win, bro. We gotta win. We gotta parent. We gotta father our kids, man.
Excellent.
So that's what I'm about, man. Hit me up. Hit me up.
And we thank you for joining us for part 2 of your story. We thank you for telling us your story. Mr. Rockmore, tell them how they can contact you with any questions or concerns through social media.
Always, John at rockmoreentertainment.com. And you can see me on Facebook, Rockmore Entertainment Group. Please reach out. I'm happy to answer and be of service in any way that I possibly can.
And you can contact me, Evan Lionel, 2898 at Evan Lionel 2898 on IG, Facebook, Evan Lionel, or you can reach out to the M.E.R page, like and subscribe, and join us. And you can leave messages for me. You can speak to the staff with any questions that you may have. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us there as well. And please share with others, because we're out here, and we're out here to help you and bring awareness to what's going on with families in our society today. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this edition of Men's Equal Rights. M.E.R, we'll see you next Sunday at the same time. My name is Evan Lionel. Good night.